What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a video I did last year during the preseason. And something I want to do, I think, through the end of this season is looking at the best performers from week one of the preseason for every single NFL team. And today, this video is going to be about the AFC teams. Now, if you're a fan of any of the NFC teams, or you just want to see who I chose as the best performer from each team on the NFC side, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and that video should be out no later than tomorrow. So without further ado, getting into the AFC West, starting with the Denver Broncos, I have Jahdae Barron. Now, this is a guy who is really fighting for playing time in that crowded cornerback room in Denver. You have Barron, you have Pat Surtain, obviously a Defensive Player of the Year winner, as well as two guys in contract years in Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan. So, it's really important for somebody like Jahdae Barron to get off to a good start, and having a 97-yard pick six in week one of the preseason goes a long way in getting that started. Harrison Butker for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the only player for the Chiefs to score in week one of the preseason. 4 for 4 on his field goal attempts with a 59-yard long field goal in there. Just a good start for any kicker. You want to be able to get off to a good start and go into the regular season feeling confident about your kicking. And I think the Chiefs and Butker are at that stage now. Fernando Mendoza, in his first ever playing action in the NFL, went 10 for 16, had 97 yards through the air, as well as his first ever NFL touchdown. And for the LA Chargers, Amar Johnson, 6 rushes for 17 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also mixed in a couple receptions for 68 yards. Amar Johnson is a guy who has been on practice squads the last, I believe, 2 years with the Green Bay Packers. And he's a guy in that Chargers running back room who is looking to make his mark in that room. He's looking to get a chance going into this season. And I think, it kind of shows that they were willing to give him some of those short yardage, close to the goal line touches. And that should go a long way in giving him confidence and giving the team confidence and maybe having him make the roster. Moving down to the AFC South, for the Houston Texans, I have Davis Mills. Now, a guy who isn't going to be the week one starter for the Houston Texans, but he showed in that week one preseason performance that he still is a really serviceable, I wouldn't even call him serviceable, I would say he's a very valuable backup quarterback. For a team like the Houston Texans, he's a guy that franchise has not had really ever in their history. A guy who's a backup quarterback who is valuable. Like I said, he can come in. He won games last year for this team, and it looks like he's going to be the same player in 2026. Caden Curry, a 6th-round pick for the Indianapolis Colts, got 6 tackles and 2 tackles for loss, as well as a sack in their game against the New England Patriots. He, along with the rest of the defensive line, guys like DeForest Buckner and other players on that defense, they kind of need to add in their pass rushing production. And if he's a guy as a 6th-round pick who can be reliable for, a handful of snaps, that's going to go a long way for Indianapolis being able to get after the quarterback better and make more plays in that department. Undrafted free agent Jamari Taylor really led a good comeback performance for the Jacksonville Jaguars in that second half. He had 22 rushes for 78 yards and 1 touchdown. This is a team who's looking for running back production. Is it going to be Bashal Tutin? Is it going to be Jamari Taylor? Is it going to be literally anybody? Jacksonville needs somebody to replace Travis Etienne from last year's production, and I'm not going to say that Jamari Taylor is going to be that guy because, again, he's an undrafted free agent. The cards are stacked against him already, but a good week one performance goes a long way in him possibly making the roster, if not the practice squad, and being a guy for Jacksonville for the future. Another kicker for the Tennessee Titans, Joey Sly, went 4 for 4 on his field goals, including 3 50-plus yard field goals and a 58-yard long. Now, this is, again, the same situation I said about Harrison Butker for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're a Titans team going into this regular season, you want to know that you can rely on not just your special teams, but especially your kicker. And him starting out 4 for 4 in the preseason, again, like I said about Harrison Butker, gives him confidence in his kicking and gives the team confidence as well. Moving to the AFC North for the Baltimore Ravens, I have Jacoby Lane. Now, there were guys who had, I guess, more statistics in their performance for the Baltimore Ravens in week 1, but I think Jacoby Lane, the hype around him through training camp and since he was drafted in 2026, there's been a lot of hype around him. And, him in this wide receiver room with guys like Zay Flowers in it, and after we've seen guys like Isaiah Likely in the passing game depart, Lamar Jackson, this offense, they really need a second or third guy to step up and be not just reliable, but a guy who can be somewhat the number 2 option. And Jacoby Lane, in his first performance on a real stage, put up 3 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown. Again, just a guy who Baltimore is really excited about, not just the team, but the fans. Seems like everybody is on the Jacoby Lane train, and it's good to see that he performed well in his short stint in the preseason so far. Chris Jenkins for the Cincinnati Bengals had 5 tackles with a sack and a tackle for loss. Cincinnati needs literally anybody to be productive along that defensive line. They did make additions like Boye Mafe, and they added Dexter Lawrence in the offseason as well. So if Chris Jenkins, a guy who was a 2024 second-round draft pick and hasn't really produced at a great rate the last 2 years, if he can get confident going into the regular season, it can lead to him really succeeding in 2026. I think you could look back and say, hey, he got off to a really great start in the preseason, and it went a long way for him. Cleveland Browns, their first-round pick, KC Concepcion, had 3 receptions for 27 yards, and he also provided a rushing touchdown, a 14-yarder where he broke a couple of tackles and took a hit going into the end zone. Concepcion also made a couple of plays in the punt returning game, so it really looks like Cleveland is going to kind of use him as a do-it-all type of guy. Him and Denzel Boston are really going to be 2 of the formative pieces around whoever the quarterback is in 2026, whether it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders or somebody else. And he being able to do things not just in the passing game, but in the rushing game as well, that could be very valuable for whoever that quarterback is. Drew Aller for the Pittsburgh Steelers, while we more than likely are not going to see him in the regular season, it really was encouraging to see he was accurate. He had a lot of yards. He put the ball in the end zone, not just through the air, but he had a rushing touchdown in there as well. 3 touchdowns for a guy making his first NFL appearance. That's a pretty great start for him. And again, even though he's probably not playing in the regular season in 2026, this is hopefully something where he's able to build off of as either the third guy in that quarterback room or wherever he ends up being placed. There's other guys on this Pittsburgh Steelers team who are vying to be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Aller, Mason Rudolph, or Will Howard. And I think between those 3 guys, Drew Aller had easily the best performance in that preseason week 1. Finally, we move to the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills. DJ Moore, 3 receptions for 61 yards. Not a stat line that really pops off the page, but he had some moments in there, especially when he was calling out a defender, trying to get him to go one-on-one with him as he was running with the ball. Just something I think Buffalo fans are really encouraged by, that he and Josh Allen already are on a great page in terms of their chemistry and their production together. A great thing to see for Buffalo fans looking for DJ Moore to be their number 1 receiver. Malik Willis, Miami didn't really have very many good performances. And Malik Willis, he only played in 1 drive, I believe, and he only missed 1 pass. And, again, this was a short sample size, but the hope is that he provided something for Miami that they haven't had in a long time. He's been an accurate guy who also can use his legs. I think Tua was mobile as a guy for Miami, but he wasn't the same mobility that Malik Willis has. And I think Willis showed both the good accuracy and the ability to get the ball on the ground in a positive manner. So I think Miami, they're really excited by what they're seeing from Malik Willis so far, both through training camp and in that week 1 preseason game. And this was a good start for him and this offense. The New England Patriots, I have Bryce Behringer. He had 6 punts with no touchbacks. He had a 65-yard long punt in there. And he had 3 of his punts go inside the 20, including 2 that I believe were inside the 10-yard line. I've really tried to highlight, both offense, defense, as well as some special teams guys in there. And I think Behringer is, for a team as good as New England is, they're able to use their punting game to their advantage. And Behringer being able to do things like keep the other team inside their own 20 or start them inside their own 10, that goes a long way for not just the defense, but it helps the offense know that if they get around midfield and they stall out, they have an ultimate weapon to really put their defense at an advantage. Braylon Allen for the New York Jets, a guy who is going to be behind Breece Hall in that running back room. 4 rushes for 44 yards and 1 touchdown. This is a guy who's probably one of the better backup running backs in the NFL. He's really developed well over these last 2 years with the New York Jets. And the hope is that he and Breece Hall are able to form a really good tandem because the quarterback position is going to be really bad. I mean, we saw Brady Cook in there for New York. We're going to see Geno Smith more than likely as the starter week 1. They're going to need somebody in that running game to really help produce alongside Breece Hall. And the hope is that Braylon Allen, like I said, continues on the great production or the great development he's had these last 2 years and turns into a really solid number 2 running back. That's going to be it for this video. Like I said, make sure if you want to see a video about the NFC version of this, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.